Hello and welcome to FS Brew. FS Brew is a region's first podcast focusing on insurance and InsureTech here in the UAE and the wider Middle East. I'm Vidya. I'm the founder of Forward, a startup that works with insurance companies to build their go-to-market digital propositions.
And hi, I'm Renjit Philip. I work with a boutique consulting firm where I work on M&A, funding, go-to-market support for startups and tech companies. Joining us today is Dr. Robin Kiera, a very prominent voice in the insurance industry and a passionate advocate for its digital transformation. So his expertise is basically in helping insurance companies leverage the power of social media and content marketing to connect with customers. And he's a prolific content creator and influencer. His latest book is called Attention Hacking: The Power of Social Media Selling in Insurance and Finance. We had a pretty rollicking time asking him all kinds of questions. So it was a good one, and we hope you enjoy this. Robin, we are very pleased to have you with us in FS Brew podcast. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Perfect. Very good. So this is a question we ask all our guests. How did you get into insurance?
I studied history and political science and journalism in university, and I was really passionate about history. And if I would have been a millionaire back then, I probably would have become a history professor because I think it's a very high art and a passion. It's in Germany, you say it's a breadless art. I had different jobs, and then I went to work for a very wealthy family, but I had still the feeling that I'm missing something. And then Allianz came and offered me a traineeship where you really, over 7 years, go from one department to the other, especially in sales, starting as a sales agent, then becoming a specialist in, for example, life insurance and so on. And I found it very appealing to really get a deep dive into such a topic. So after finishing my PhD, a few days later, I found myself in a very simple hotel with a lot of people that entered the insurance industry. So that was my start. And I've never left it. Also, one time I had a little bit affair with online gaming when I still joined a startup that was an online gaming company, which we grew to several hundred million in revenue. And we sold it also for 400 million, but I didn't have any shares. So
PhD, insurance. These are the sort of things which stuck behind. Fabulous. What a job.
Excellent. And then now on to the whole book writing itself. Tell us about your book. So you wrote The Power of Social Media Selling in Insurance and Finance.
I'm sorry for interrupting. It's just because of the connection. I'm very sorry. I wrote it. I have here the German version. So here's the German version. There's also an English one. The English version, the German version. I wrote it because as a sales agent, I need to contact clients. You call them via phone or you get leads and you call them. And not a lot of people are super happy to hear from their insurance agents. Hello, this is Robin Kiera from your Allianz Insurance Agency. Let's talk about your coverage. People prefer jumping out of the window or getting a root canal done instead of actually talking to me. But then social media came up in the 2000s and 2010 years. And I found out that when you're super present on social media, people can start coming to you because people have a problem. They trust you, they like you, and they say, I have this problem. Maybe Robin can solve it or whoever. And I strongly believe, I think that the regular agent or broker who doesn't do any advertisement marketing or social media will have problems in the future. We see this all over Germany, for example, that super small agents and brokers are actually dying off and bigger entities are taking over. Sometimes these are agents that have a few employees or agents actually that are super large, with dozens, hundreds of people. Exactly. And in my book, I put all the tips and tricks how, as an insurance company, you can use social media, but also how, as an agent or broker, you can use social media to become on the radar of your client and only talk to people who actually want to talk to you.
Right. So what's a nice, amazing, out-of-the-box idea that you really, really...
Yes, and I wanted to have a manual because ideas are good, but you need to put the ideas into reality. And how do I do a movie as an insurance agent or as an insurer? What works in these days? And also some basic stuff. Which platforms make sense for who? And all of this content is also in the book. Yeah.
In your book, you've talked about the need to be present on social media. Now, the question is, insurance, a little bit boring, a little bit, we try to wear a suit and look professional and stuff like that. So what happens with balancing that professionalism with sometimes in the authenticity required, especially when you're trying to connect with a digitally savvy younger audience? How do you do that piece? So that's a difficult one, right?
We are a marketing agency in the DACH region, and we are the market leader on TikTok videos and TikTok channels for the insurance industry, actually. So my main argument is I would disagree with you and say we are not boring. We don't have boring topics. Go into a bookstore, look at the best-selling books. It's about how to become rich, how to become healthy, how to not die poor. A lot of people spending a lot of money for online courses, classes, coaches, gurus. So the topics are super, super relevant for the people. The people want to live and be healthy. They want to be rich or build wealth in whatever they think that is. And the funny thing is, in contrast to banking, the people might not like insurers, but they understand that we have a lot of knowledge about actually how to generate wealth or what is healthy and what not, because we have health insurance. And so my argument is we have the best topic in the world to actually talk about, but we have put it in such a boring way in a lot of paper stacks that we have lost the sight of what really excites the people. And the people are exciting about health. They are excited about wealth. And it is an art to take all the legal documents of an insurance and put it into the desires and dreams of customers.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, there's so many ads that I've seen where you show an umbrella and a family for insurance. Is there no other way to show insurance as an image? It's crazy, isn't it?
I have a good test for all insurance marketing managers here or leaders. There's a very easy test to test if your ad is very bad or not. Get your 3 to 5 year old child in front of the TV, and when ads come, go on mute. And if that child can understand what the ad is actually selling, then it's a good ad. If it's an ad that got a lot of awards for the campaign, but the people do not understand actually what they are selling, then it's a problem. And it's the same for insurance. Okay, 3, 4, 5 years old, it's a little bit difficult to understand. But if you explain things and it's topic of their lives, then they can also maybe understand that if there's an accident and somebody protects them. So you need to really build content and that really shows what you are actually selling. And it's not about so maybe one more thing, there are different target groups, we all know. Some people are going for the price only, but also there are some that go for coverage. And you really need to show actually what you're covering in 7 seconds.
Yeah, you're right. We have a serious packaging issue. We are not able to go beyond the legal terms completely. Tell us about the German market. What are the expectations and aspirations from a consumer point of view when it comes to insurance, and how are the insurance companies tackling those expectations? And if we have to put it in a larger context, how do you compare how the German insurance companies are doing from a regional perspective to maybe the rest of the market?
In Germany is a very saturated market. I think on average, the German has 18 insurance policies. From liability insurance, I think the market penetration of liability insurance is 95%.
Wow.
But there's a but. So 18 is great. It's awesome. Super good. But the average number of policies held with one insurance company is 1.8. Okay. So German insurance companies have been super bad at up and cross-selling. Super bad. And again, I've been an insurance sales agent. I know how hard it is to sell an insurance policy. So that's the one situation. You have a lot of insurers. You have about 600 insurers. It's not like in Switzerland where you only have a handful, or in Austria where you only have a handful. You have a super fragmented market. You have market leaders like Allianz, but you have also a lot of smaller insurance companies, smaller ones that are they're super strong in a region. Sometimes they're super strong only in one town and have 20,000 clients, 200,000 clients. And you have a lot of that. The market is not growing dramatically. It's actually growing currently under inflation. Of course, everybody's still saying, hey, we're growing by 2 or 3%. But the big dramatic problem currently is it's called damage or claim inflation. What does that mean? We have a huge inflation, more than actually it's indicated, I personally think. when you have calculated your car insurance with the prices of 2024, and now parts have risen 30-40%, and you need to adjust the claim, you can be the best insurance company in the world. In that business with that margins, you will have a loss. So all German P&C insurers currently are riding a loss.
Okay.
And this is, of course, a bloodbath. But what they are doing, they're cost cutting, and which actually leads also the path to innovation, because you cannot waste money anymore. So that's that situation. If you're looking at growth, you have the big players that are growing marginally, but what we see is smaller regional players. We see players in niches that actually are growing a lot. For example, we have a classical car insurer. It's called OCC, super strong in classical car insurance out of various regulatory reasons. And then they founded a small company also for camping cars, and things like that are growing rapidly. So you have niches, small new brands that work really great. So that's a little bit the situation. Saturated market, not a lot of up and cross selling. Claims inflation and cost is the topic of the day. And then in niches, companies are growing over average.
Okay. Got it.
It's a bit like UAE in some sense. Regulatory products there are so many players versus the population itself. So I think the niche makes a difference versus the red ocean.
And maybe one more thing, niche makes a difference, but you need to be very good. You need to have a lot of knowledge about the topic, and you need to be super digital. So you need to be able to scale a lot, and you need to be very good at marketing and sales. So you need to have a very good agents and broker deals, very good in direct business. And so even when you're in a niche and you're bad, then you're going out of the business. Sure. But if you are in a niche and you fully focus on it and you leverage knowledge of the niche and your digital and your super marketing, that's the mixture that makes growth rates 10, 20, 30%.
When you say 18 policies per capita, in the Middle East, it is probably 0.18 policy per capita. We have a penetration problem, right? We are behind that curve. So it's an interesting situation that you're in. You talked about insurance companies in the market. Want to dive a little bit into the InsurTech landscape.
Yeah.
Obviously, as you mentioned, it's a mature insurance market. So what are the problems that InsurTechs are facing and are solving? What are the attitudes of insurers when it comes to working with InsurTechs?
Okay, so there has been actually a big shock in Germany. The shock is we had the Element insurance, which was a good InsureTech, but when the regulatory authorities actually put them out of business and said you are not allowed to do business anymore. And actually they did file the Chapter 13. In Germany, it's a different chapter, but it's like they're broke. They're going out of business. It's the first insurance company in Germany that went out of business since 200 years, I think. So I think that was not a very smart move, to be quite honest. I think I would have gone to one CEO of one big insurer and said, you get a out of jail free card, but please solve this problem for us. So that's that. In Germany, we had attackers, which were the direct brands that attacked and wanted to generate a lot of new insurance customers with new products, niche products, or also with regular products, but more digital. I would say most of them failed, except a few examples like GetSafe, for example, which are super strong in a younger customer base. So there are very few that are successful. Okay. So is InsureTech a failure in Germany? I would say yes and no. Yes, big insurance companies have still big parts of the market. There's no InsureTech that outgrew Allianz, Ergo, AXA, General. Didn't happen. But what we see, if we go to conferences, for example, or if we look at the landscape of service provider from technology or from services like ours, you have a whole new generation of tech providers. You have Chris from Holland for fraud and trust. You have K2G for AI analysis and portfolio management and data cleaning. You have so many service provider, and you have also traditional service provider like IBM, Guidewire, MSG, who actually modernized their product stack for insurance companies. So is InsurTech in Germany dead or no? Surely the direct attackers didn't push through, except a few exceptions. But we have a whole ecosystem of tech providers and service providers that help traditional insurance companies to cope. And yes, insurance companies were slow to adapt, and you had a whole generation of old school managers who didn't understand what was going on, but you also had some old senior guys who really understood and acted actually. And what we see right now, and that is really promising, you see a new generation of insurance leaders currently, really 30 years old, 40 years old, a lot of female insurance managers, and not because of some quotas, but because they're just very good at their job. And that's something that really makes me excited. And I think the InsureTech really pushed and opened the door for a new generation. And not only because the others went into retirement, but because they said, oh, do I go to the 50-year-old guy or to the 40-year-old guy or girl? And now they are giving more younger people a chance. But still, these people are super highly skilled in the industry. They are super highly skilled in their respective field. But that's what I see. So to sum it up, we see the direct attack on insurance failed in Germany, but we ended up with an amazing ecosystem of tech providers and service companies like ours, for example. And last but not least, you have a young generation of awesome leaders that are rocking the industry. And I'm super excited about that.
Awesome. I was just reading up that the regulatory environment treats InsureTechs almost the same way as an insurer. Is that true? Do they require the same capital adequacy ratios and stuff like that? Is that how it works?
So, well, I don't want to become too political because we have elections coming up and Germany, it has some serious structural problems currently. It's really a disaster actually. But what we had a big scandal of Wirecard, which was a fraudulent company, and especially EY and also the German regulatory authority really failed there, even though the regulatory authorities actually also have a lot of young, cool people that want to, do the best for the clients and customers. And so the regulatory authority became really afraid that this repeats itself. So they really rose the bar of everything. But nevertheless, the mission of the German regulatory authority is to provide better products and services to clients. So if you have a great idea, and if you have a great idea, you can still go there and try to actually get a license and things. But again, yes, the threshold for capital has risen, but it has to do with the scandal that happened in banking. Has nothing to do with insurance, but still they now are a little bit more afraid.
Interesting.
Wow. We saw the whole story of VFox, right? How they rose to fame. They were one of the most promising, I think. And then you could see a decline in their storytelling as well for various reasons. Great. We want to again draw back from the book that you'd written. And one of the biggest problems insurers face is, how do I become part of the lives of my customers? Because you tend to speak to them once or twice. Once, if you have to buy the policy. Twice, God forbid, when you have a claim. And therefore, there is really no stickiness as much as an insurer would want it. So do you have any sort of tips or tricks or advice in terms of how do they offer the customers better?
Yeah. If you're in Europe, hire us. Very easy solution. Organic side. So it is, you need to understand what is the difference between a good insurance agent and a bad one? Or let me tell you a story, which can be a joke or a story. You decide. A very good one and a very bad one insurance agent meet, and the bad one says, why are you so good? And a good one says, why are you so bad, not producing anything? And then the bad insurance agent says, I go to the address where the client lived 20 years ago, I call a number that's out of service, and the good insurance agent says, hey, why are you doing these things? The people are not there anymore. If that would happen in an insurance organization, that bad insurance agent would get one chance and then got fired. But this is how we as insurance companies actually treat our customers. We are on platforms where the people are not anymore. We use media and channels that people don't use anymore. And we are always late to the party. So I started to talk about TikTok and insurance in 2019. I was actually the first one here in Europe that were doing that all the time. And still, 5-6 years later, only a handful of insurance companies, mostly our clients, are on TikTok. And so when insurance executives come to me and cry that they have an overaged population or overaged customer portfolio, I'm getting a little bit mad, because I say, since years I'm talking about how to actually get to younger customers. It's not easy. You just need to pull aside a little bit of money. I don't know, a few $100K, low million budget, and you can get that. It's You need to be where the client is, but this means also that you actually want that, and you need to also do some changes in your company. You can still continue the good marketing and sales work you already do, but you also need to actually open up new channels. And we had TikTok, that was the next big thing. Currently, you have LinkedIn Shorts in various regions that's popping up, similar promising as TikTok does, and still insurers are again having the same arguments they also had 1985 against computers.
Yeah.
Yes, but the thing, it's very expensive to be the last. I understand you don't need to be the first, but don't be the last. And it's not very expensive to become part of the reality. We have this old classical car insurance, for example, that has the biggest community there. Where social media played a large role. We have a bank that when we started actually working with them, and they had various actions, we lowered the average age of a new customer from 55 to 35.
Okay.
It is possible. You just need to do it.
In fact, I think one of your interviews, you mentioned even that the CEOs and leaders should be also very active on social media.
Yes.
Now, in the Middle East, it's slightly conservative. And perhaps it's very similar to the German market that way. And how would you have that discussion with a senior leader and say, you need your personal brand and the company brand are now the same? And what reasons would you give him to go and now hit the social media?
You don't need to be on social media, I would tell him. You don't need to be on social media, but don't then expect to make a lot of money. Yeah, and that's one language insurance agents and decision makers understand. It's money. And by the way, it's also the language I understand. It's my favorite one. Yeah. And why are personal brands so important? It's not because we sell this product. It is evolutionary. When you look at pictures of 10,000 people, Renjit, for example, you look at the picture of 10,000 people in one group, and you don't know anybody, but there's one small picture of Vidya. You immediately, within 1 minute, you will discover her. Why is this? Because out of biological reasons, we are scanning our surrounding for dangers and friends. And that's the big role of faces, even with pictures and videos, even better. So faces and persons transport trust, and you recognize them. Persons will always work better than logos. It's a rule. That's why for example, here in Germany, a lot of soccer clubs have mascots. In order to get the people very young. My children were a fan of the mascot of the soccer club before they knew it was a soccer club. And this has a lot to do with evolution. And that's that. And decision makers are the biggest representative. What a lot of decision makers are afraid of is the following. They have a 60-hour work week, make important decisions. Only the crap comes on their table. Only the problems, disasters, stress. So they are the last line of defense. And then they say, and then I should do some selfies and videos. Are you crazy? It is to set up a system together with their marketing and PR department that once every 2 to 3 months, you have 1 to 2 hours with the person, create so much content that's really predefined, and then produce it that you have enough content for the next month to come, but it's still very valuable, and you leverage the face of the person. So I can take away the fear of it we take time away from you, because sometimes the people are doing some stuff themselves. We take everything away from you. You can give a few words of input, and we come up with a strategic plan. We produce everything with you and for you, and together with your team, of course. And that works very well. Very well. And again, if you want to hire people, your face needs to be there. If you're a B2B brand, your face needs to be there. And if you're a B2C brand, it's also nice when you're out there to transport this trust.
So it's just human nature. If you trust somebody, you will buy from that person. It's as simple as that.
The funny thing is, I'm talking all day long about digital content, about digital processes, but it's the God-honest truth that people buy from people. And I know it's a stupid phrase, we haven't heard it all, but it makes a difference. If you have seen if you've seen a person with your own eyes, it can even better in physical, but video also does the job partially, than some anonymous, soulless thing.
Speaking of mascot, in the UAE, the biggest insurance brand has a mascot, and they just resonate with all age groups. And the trick has really worked for them as well. Yeah, it's worked for them a lot. And expanding on that whole consumer recognition and requirement to resonate with the brand itself. Tell us a little more about the consumer personas that are there in Germany. Are they extremely digitally led, or they search online, but they buy offline? And the reason we are asking is UAE has one of the highest internet penetration. Everyone is on mobile, but when it comes to insurance, for many reasons, they prefer to have a conversation with an agent. They prefer to have a little bit of human connection, a contact, versus when they have to order their food or buy stuff online, they're happy to be completely digital. Yeah.
I've been regularly in the UAE. I love the place. It's a great country. It's super inspiring. And I think it's one of the positive places in the world. I know a lot of Germans have moved there out of also political reasons. Nice. To answer your question, you have different segments. You have different target groups. You have still the old grandma, 80 plus, that needs to walk somewhere, or you have still that. But you also have people that just want to have a problem solved. They actually don't care if their liability insurance is 10 million or 50 million. They just want that stuff being out of their life. But when it comes to finance, we have actually estimated 10, 15 years ago that the agent and the retail banks will vanish, but they don't. And I think why they have not yet vanished is because people still, when they invest a lot of money, want to have somebody who they can go to and yell at if something doesn't work. Yeah. And yeah, it's like that. And so you have a large target group where the advisor still plays a role, that we see that a lot of easy products actually are taken away from this. So a liability insurance, a term life insurance, supplementary health insurance, all insurance products are actually super digital sellable, and the easy ones already get sold more and more. The big question is, with the rise of AI, do we actually need human beings to advise people about their full health insurance or financial whole life insurance policies or things like that? I personally believe that we see the trend that agents and brokers and also retail bankers are still there, or private bankers are still there, but their product, they need to sell gets less and less. If at some point they are gone, I don't know, but it will take a long time. But the agent and broker who just sells retail products will sooner or later have a problem, I strongly believe. So what should you do as an insurance company? Everything that's easy to be sold online, you should sell online and really transform your agents and brokers and salespeople into advisors that solve complex problems.
Yeah, which means that you will have fewer of them, but they'll be doing more specialized work.
For example, instead of filling out some paperwork to get a term life insurance, they need to do complex real estate financing with different groups, entities involved. And I think this demands a different education than you need until the end of the week have sold 10 of these policies and now go out and start in the high-rise building up and go. These times are over.
Absolutely.
But I've done it.
No, I think early days of our career, we've all done it in some shape. So now, I'm going to ask you a question which almost makes you a little bit of a consultant to some of our companies in UAE and KSA. So we have a large number of players, right? Actually, to be honest, larger number than you would require or expect in a smallish market like ours. So there's a lot of these mid-size insurers. Now, what do these companies do in terms of strategies, whether by social media or otherwise? How can they leverage their size and agility to disrupt the market, gain a competitive advantage?
When I look at the InsureTech companies that failed, or fintech companies that failed, they have one thing in common. They were very good at one thing. Maybe it was product, maybe it was regulatory, maybe it was technology. But they're all very bad at marketing. So what did they do? They went to some third-tier agency, hired somebody as head of marketing, and that's it. And they just repeated the bad marketing of the big players, or even worse. So what could people really do if you're a mid-size and small insurance companies? You only actually need one head of marketing or even a marketing manager, and I strongly would outsource it. We are not active in the market, so it's not advertisement for us. Outsource it to agencies or people who can support you that have proven that they're successful. So they have very big following on social media themselves. They can show you a lot of posts they have created for others, and where you see that They leverage face, high production quality. And yes, I would really start with that. And if you find good people, then you can build a team of 2, 3, 4, 5 people whose main job that is to do that. And then even better, and then have some agencies to help you. Again, social media is like a new area of sales and marketing. It is not something your Gen Z intern does on the side. It costs some money, but to be quite honest, to be on social media, the absolute leader organically, maybe you need to invest 1 or 2 million a year. That's it. But then you are beating everybody else. So again, that's a lot of money. But compared to the budgets we have, it's nothing in a lot of cases. Maybe it's in UA a little bit more, maybe it's a little bit less. So it's just that number, and then you can really do that. And one thing, you will have people successful organically. But the big question is, can you actually take that and put it into sales in your direct sales funnel you also need to have? And that's the magic thing. And we have seen this. We have seen this actually have happened several times. And all clients that do this, they don't complain about finding no people. They don't complain about growth. They don't complain. They just focus on what they're good at.
Right. So seek out experts who can help you, and then go hit them hard, right? So that
trust it as something complex. If I don't know, we work for a lot of tech companies like IBM. I visit their quantum computer here in Germany. I would never think, oh, that looks easy. I'm going to build this myself too. Yeah. Nobody ever would think about that. But on social media, everybody thinks, oh, I can take a picture. I did a picture on my grandma's 95th birthday yesterday. Yeah. So I just do this. And sometimes it even works, but only one time. And then it fails. And then it's a disaster. Yeah. So you need to go to specialists. And the algorithms are brutal. Yeah. And you need to have experts on board that know what they're doing. It's a no-brainer, because for a lot of other topics, fraud, claims, sales, technology, you have experts, but for social media, you give it your intern. It doesn't work. Only if you come small company, it's better than nothing. But if you're a serious company that has millions in budgets for marketing, social media costs just 1 or 2, and then you're the absolute dominant leader in that field.
Yeah. It's a mindset change, actually, more than anything. It's not the budget that you don't have. It's more the mindset that marketing is not an expense line. It can actually be a revenue line. And that's the change I think a lot of our insurers have to go through in terms of the journey itself. So we've come almost towards the end of the first section of the podcast. We want to ask you a very esoteric question before we hit the rapid fire section.
Yeah.
If you were given a billboard, what message would you like to put it up on that, and what's the target audience for that billboard?
I would say in Germany, go vote, and go vote for the people that really help to save the country. And that's what I would say. But this has nothing to do with insurance. And otherwise, I probably would put a billboard on the way to work for my wife and say thank you.
Absolutely. Yes. Happy wife, happy life. Absolutely.
Great. So let's kickstart the rapid fire, Renjit.
Absolutely. So if you're ready for it, Robin, we will throw them your way, 60 seconds or less, and here it comes. So what's the one piece of advice you'd give to an insurance startup in the Middle East?
Take marketing serious, go to professionals, and don't be only excellent at one thing. Be good really at marketing and sales too, because that's the key.
Perfect. Name the top mistake insurance professionals making on social media.
Not sourcing it out and taking it too slightly as a hobby. It's not a hobby. It is. You need to have it professionally, and decision makers, CEOs, C-suites, they really need to understand it's you are the ambassador of your company. You cannot do selfies from your vacation.
So take it seriously is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Perfect. And if you can give us a quick tip for Middle Eastern insurance companies wanting to use faces in their content respectfully, how would you?
You have great leaders. You have great experts in your companies. Be proud on that. Show that regionality is not a weakness. It's a super strength, because people buy from people that look like them, smell like them, and feel like them, and have the same vibes. Be proud on your faces and your heritage, and show this. Why not?
Yep. We tend to be a little conservative sometimes. And this is a good one. True or false? TikTok is too casual a platform for insurance companies. I knew that.
We have so many channels we manage. They get better. They hire better people. They are rejuvenating their customer base. They reach new people, and it's so cheap. We did once a study on the media value of one TikTok channel we manage, it was $45 million. And to be quite honest, our budget is slightly under that.
That's brilliant. Vidya, over to you.
Excellent. So in one sentence, what's the most important thing you've learned as an insurance agent?
Love your customer. Love your customer. Really fight for them. Provide them with the best solution. Be there. And then the business will follow.
Nice. Finish this sentence for us. The key to engaging younger insurance customers in the Middle East is dash.
Start creating great content.
Engaging content. Okay. What technology, according to you, will have the biggest impact in the insurance sector in, say, the next 3 to 5 years?
3 to 5, it's surely AI, and after that, probably blockchain.
Okay.
Nice. Okay. Great.
It's
Okay,
curious.
great.
Just curious, you said blockchain afterwards.
Because AI has use cases right now that really make sense. What the hell is in my policy? And then AI tells you what is in. So these LLM models really are now, they can provide solutions that work right now. Blockchain is still a technology that is looking for a solution for problems to solve in some cases. But the leverage, the digitalization of levers and things like that can make sense at some point. But I've not seen use cases except Bit and Doge that really go to the moon.
Yes, absolutely. Very good. Excellent.
Great. So I think we've come to the end of the rapid fire and the podcast interview as well. Thank you very much for taking the time out. We're so glad we could have this interview with you. Thanks for sharing all the tips.
Yeah, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Perfect. Very good.